The topic is gun violence and interpersonal relationships, and we're fortunate to have with us Mr. LGreenlee, Mr. Britton, and Mr. Davis. And of course, gentlemen, let me welcome you back to the second segment of the show for today. Mr. Greenlee, the topic is gun violence and interpersonal relationships, but I think more specifically we're concerned about interpersonal relationships, and gun violence generally follows some of these interpersonal relationships. And so what we want to do today is to use a term that I think that I've heard people talk about, respect the set, which is to say that you ought to have respect for the general community and etc. Let's start with you by having you to lay down a foundation so these younger individuals, as well as myself, can have a better understanding of where we are and where we need to go.
Okay, well, let's do it like this. Let's say no matter what we want to say, somebody failed us somewhere. If you look at my community and you talking about these boys wearing their pants down, how did it happen? Where did it come from? If you start to seeing it being done and you do nothing about it, then don't you get the results? See, us as older people, we have to take the responsibility that we've done some things against our own communities. Okay, so we can point fingers all we want. Every time I hear somebody say, boy, them boys need to pull their pants up, you know what I say? Give them a reason. See, when you have no reason, you're an ex-felon, you're out of the system, you catch one little small dope case, you ain't killed nobody, you ain't murdered nobody, you haven't done none of this, and then all of a sudden, you can't even get a McDonald's job. But yet instead, you tell me to pay you $40 a month, and when I can't pay you, you lock me back up, because once I fill the application out, I therefore cannot even have the job because I'm a felon. I'm telling the audience out there, the people that's lawyers, the people that's in politics, we need to get involved and get back to the basics and start to really, just like Martin Luther King did, let's start marching for this stuff. We keep on wanting to protest and talk about these things, but man, let's put some of our resources back in the, listen, it's nobody's real problem. It's of all of our problems. So let's get back now and put this dream team. I had a guy that called me on a radio station and said, let's put a dream team together. And you know, if I'm uneducated and don't have that kind of education, then you need to get in to push me along. You don't need to tell me I'm not politically correct. You don't need to do all that. You need to get in and let's work this thing together. That's what I want to make it clear to.
And of course, Britton, you've done quite a bit in terms of, as you indicated in the introduction, the term of overcoming. And why don't you make some statements in reference to some of the things that we were talking about here?
Well, as a young man, growing up during my high school years, I was used to people, parents, family, the community, the church, pointing the finger, saying you need to do this, make sure you do that, make sure you do that. But in my mind, there was some other things going on that I feel like I couldn't go to an adult, even my mama, to talk about. So I feel like growing up, I was lacking the father figures in my life. I was lacking the real support, the real love. And so now I am totally understand why our young people make some decisions that they make. Is because they got a thought in their mind that they have to do a certain thing to fit in, or they have to do a certain thing to make it in life. So I think that it is time, coming from a young man, I think that it's time for all of us to pull together and let's start talking about it, and let's start offering solutions and supporting our young people that are making bad decisions.
Now, would you agree with that, Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir, most definitely. And speaking on, touching on what he just said, we have to give something for them to grasp hold of. And the number one thing that we know our people as a whole really connect with is our music. They listen to it all day, in and out, up and down. But this is what has taken us away from what we really do, because we chase the cars, the clothes, the materialistics that don't really mean nothing, that's captivating us. That's the only reason we wanted to be like the drug dealer in the society, in the community, or the pimp, or whoever that was so-called the degenerate junkie to society, but they looked like something to us, because we didn't have much. So therefore, that's why we in doing this, I'm here on the music, and I'm on to touch y'all and stop. I think we're being misled by constantly telling these boys that we talking about getting this dope, getting this money, and mistreating our women in society. That's got to stop. For one, because that's all we listen to all day long. It's just like if you're teaching that in class, that's what I'm going to go
That's
home
the
and
only
learn.
thing that you listen to.
Even if I'm got a good home base.
You know, I think one thing you've hit upon, Ms. Greenlee, is this whole idea of jobs and opportunities. Do you believe that if there are more jobs and opportunities offered to young people, that some of the things that they become involved in that we believe to be critical for, in terms of leading them down the wrong road, do you think that if they had a job, they could get jobs and education and everything? Would that help?
Listen, will it help? First of all, we have to start investing in our communities.
Okay.
Okay, 2 days ago, I drove down West End. And then I drove down Crawford Highway. And I'm saying to myself, what happened to our money that kept turning over? I look at our shopping centers we begin to build, and I look at Enchanted Hills, and I look at Haynes Manor, and I'm saying, well, what happened to our development? See, we are talking about developing, we're talking about opportunities, but yet instead it's not in our communities. See, we can talk all we want to about getting these boys jobs and all this, but if the jobs are not available, then how can they even get the job? Okay, so we have to begin in our own community, reinvesting in our communities to offer these jobs. Let's begin to buy some of this stuff back. You know, you got some millions or something. Everybody's not broke. So let's get this straight now. Yeah, everybody's not broke.
All right.
Okay, so now what is, we heart this money, and we set up and keep on looking at people and keep on complaining about what nobody's doing, but you have the monies and the resources to get it done. So let's start, man, giving these black kids, first of all, how can we give the rest of the kids and we not give our black kids in our own community? Let's start somewhere. Let's begin to quit complaining, and let's see can we make our community look like Belle Meade. It only takes us a small investment in 20, 15, 30 years. You know, that's not a long time.
Okay, well, okay. And of course, Britton, dealing with the lack of adequate resources in a real sense, did you experience that when you were growing up?
Yes, sir, I did. And one thing that, a major thing I think what's lacking today is, number one, the love to youth, to young people. I think that we so quick to judge, you know, judge a young person because they pants hanging down or because they selling dope or because they in a gang, but we're not really trying to really begin to know them for who they really are. So I think with the lack of resources comes with the lack of participation with our youth with something positive.
Very good. Of course, we're getting ready for our second commercial break, Mr. Davis. And when we come back, we'll start with you, and we'll continue this discussion. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.